Kylo, you should have been somebody else. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fumbling Through the Galaxy with your host Severus Snape. Today we're talking a little bit about the sequel trilogy. I don't really want to get into, the whole trilogy and whether or not it was good, bad, a disservice to the fans, whether Rey was a legitimate character, whether Kylo was a legitimate character, Snoke, Palpatine, Rian Johnson or Rhys Johnson, however you say that name, or J.J. Abrams. There's so many angles to this whole debacle that was the sequel trilogy that it's hard to really land on what's fact, what's fiction. Suffice it to say that I think there are some of the best Star Wars moments in all of the IP in the trilogy, sequel trilogy, as well as some of the absolute lowlights in all of the sequels or all the IPs, all the movies. So, you will have your own opinion on what those are, the highs and lows. I have my own opinion on what the highs and lows are. I celebrate all things Star Wars, so I'm certainly not disappointed globally in the fact that we did get 3 new entries into the universe, so I certainly won't complain about that. However, one of the characters that was introduced in the trilogy should never have been had George Lucas had his way. And that is, of course, Kylo Ren. In a perfect world and in George Lucas's vision, Kylo Ren would have actually been a light side user, or it might not have been called Kylo, by the way. Who knows if you'd introduced some of the EU people such as Jason. However, Kylo would have been a light force user who would have been seduced by a Sith apprentice. And not just any Sith apprentice. A Sith apprentice that was introduced in comic series and became such a fan favorite that she still to this day inspires art and fanfic, as well as continued debate on whether or not she should have been included in the sequels. I'm referring to, of course, none other than Darth Talon. Darth Talon was the hand of Darth Krayt in the comics. She was featured predominantly in the comics and in a long-standing storyline, and she was one of the most, I think, well-designed Sith apprentices that I've ever seen. So had George had his way, Darth Maul would have been the big baddie in the sequels, and his Sith apprentice would have been Darth Talon. I'm curious, would that have been better than Palpatine getting rehashed and Kylo? Possibly. I, for one, did not mind that Palpatine was still around. I think it is very much a Sith thing, and I think if you follow the whole cloning story that's always been an underlying feature of Star Wars, it fit into the narrative I thought was possible. So I probably don't dislike it as much as maybe other people. Nonetheless, Darth Talon should have been the Sith apprentice. I think would have been an infinitely more interesting Sith apprentice. However, I'm pretty confident that if had Disney tried to give us the Darth Talon of the comics, it would have landed flat in a day and age where she probably would have been, for lack of a better term, muted in George's treatment of the sequels. She would have seduced Han Solo's son, tried to seduce him to the dark side. So I think that kind of seductress would still have been present. How far they would have taken it, who knows. If you're not familiar with Darth Talon, you're actually in for a treat, because we're going to look at one of the figures that I hunted for a very long time from Gentle Giant. There's also a a sideshow statue of Darth Talon, which is also fantastic, which in Canada runs you several $1,000s. So that one is always on my radar, but really going to need to see it come down a little bit, or perhaps catch it on somebody who's desperate to unload their collection and come through it that way. But paying the eBay prices that I see right now, and even sometimes the marketplace prices that I see, It just doesn't make sense. Anyways, so as I've said in previous videos, I don't shop at brick and mortar. I don't pre-order. I normally am an in-person shop or purchaser, collector. I like to hunt. I like meeting people and getting the backstory. This particular item actually was a marketplace find. And this one, I couldn't meet them because they were in a different province. For those in the United States, think of it as a different state. So it was just impossible to drive 8 hours to pick this up. However, this person put it on Marketplace at a price to sell. And I bought it on Marketplace and had it a couple days later. I will say something about that though, that I've noticed, because, you know, as I look on things on eBay and I notice like these astronomical asking prices, or sometimes at cons, I see people haggling with dealers, or dealers asking for too much. I think if you're a collector and you know the price or the market value of something, and it's important to know this, if you see it come up at that value, purchase it. Purchase it. Don't try and lowball somebody. Don't try and leverage somebody. So, you know, from the seller's perspective, price it to sell. From the buyer's perspective, purchase it when you know you're getting it at a really good price. And, you know, everybody wins, and those people will continue to collect and sell, and you will continue to collect and buy. Right? So if everybody's just out there to kind of put one over on somebody, the whole thing breaks down. And I have to say that all too often, I've seen this dynamic at play, live and online bidding, and nobody wins if everybody's trying to screw the other person over. It's just a fact. So, you know, my only observation on that, for me, I have never haggled somebody at a con. And that sounds surprising, right? But that's because I know what the market value is, and I know what the value of something is. I also know what it was originally sold for. So knowing all that information when I go in, you know, I'm pretty much able to look at something that's priced at a table and say, okay, that is actually a fair price. That person made a purchase, they're getting some return on their money, or they're breaking even, but they're not taking a loss. Therefore, they're still seeing some value in, you know, continuing their collecting, coming back to these cons and purchasing a table and selling the items. And, you know, and so, you know, I don't haggle when I see something. If I see something that's way overpriced, I just don't buy it, because even if I'm haggling, I'm not going to get to a price that I think is fair market. You know what I mean? I think that it's either fair market or isn't, because I think if a dealer is going way above fair market, they're not going to get to your price anyways. You know, 99% of the time, if you know the market value of something, you know, and you see it priced that way, just buy it. Just purchase it, you know, and appreciate the fact that you got away with that. Or not got away with that. Appreciate the fact that you got the deal you were looking for and hoping for before you even went in. So anyway, this particular person on Marketplace priced this to sell. It sold, and it sold within, I think I bought it within 90 minutes of the listing. And that guy was very, very happy with it. And I know that if he puts something else up there, or he knows after our interaction that if he's got other pieces, which he does, that I'm interested in, that he can come to me, and, you know, if it's priced right and priced to sell, I'll buy it without question. And I'm not going to spend my time or effort trying to haggle down a reasonable price to begin with. So, Darth Talon, incredibly provocative character, very eye-catching, one that I particularly like, obviously for obvious reasons, because she's a Sith. What else would I be talking about? Anyway, so we'll be looking at this statue from Gentle Giant today. I mean, it's a really big box. I'm not sure if you can really get the scope of what it is, but she certainly will be a lot of fun to unbox and take a look at. And so I'm curious though, what are your thoughts of the sequel trilogy? Again, by keeping it respectful, simple, you know, love, hate, you know, what about it did you not like? What about it did you really like? Are you looking forward to the new movie that's being in the rumor mill and that's being developed with Rey? I, for one, am a huge fan of Rey. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what she does. I think it may be an opportunity, again, to bring in a little EU element in here. Maybe think about something a la New Jedi Order. And so that would be a lot of fun for me, but who knows? It's hard to tell, you know, where Disney will go at any point with their with this IP, but I think there's an opportunity there, and I certainly do not dislike the character. So leave me your thoughts, your comments. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, share with somebody, and let's get to the table. Okay, here we are at the table. Have a look at Darth Talon. Once again, as I said in the preamble, this is a character that just endures for someone who has never seen live action or even animation. The fandom absolutely loves this character. I feel we lost an opportunity in the sequel trilogy to introduce her into live action. Again, I'm not sure, though, that I'm not thankful about that, because I think she would have been muted based on the representation of her character in the comics. Nonetheless, here is a Gentle Giant statue, and much like the Kotobukiya stuff that we've been looking at, if there's a company that just seems to understand the Star Wars fandom and understand the characters outside of kind of canon that people dig, it's definitely Gentle Giant. Gentle Giant, it does a fantastic job of always delivering characters to fans that fans want, whether they've been represented on live action or animation or not, and giving us really cool deep cut characters. As you know, we've already looked at the Hondo Ohnaka bust, and they've done Savage Opress, and many. List goes on and on of characters that they just seem to have their finger on the pulse of the fandom. So this is the box that Darth Talon has come in. I've said it many times. I won't collect out of box. Here she is. And this is the reason why I don't collect out of box. I love box art. I love looking at this. I mean, look at this shot. I mean, this is fantastic. Really great. And let's see. Raised and trained on the ancient Sith burial world of Korriban, Darth Talon was a third-generation Sith. Styled with black Sith tattoos covering her body, head, and Leku, Talon earned each of these markings in ritual combat. Darth Talon made her debut in Star Wars Legacy 0, the pre-release supplement of Star Wars Legacy comic series. This highly detailed statue is based on the original Lucasfilm designs, sculpted and painted by Gentle Giant Limited. We hope you enjoy it. Man, I'm liking it already. I mean, I would have just bought the box if I were being completely honest with you. So again, you know what? Here's a great shot of her, kind of obviously using the Force in order to do something with her red saber. And again, these tattoos that they were talking about, we'll certainly have a better look when we get the statue out. So let's have a look. So something I should add for everybody who collects, Gentle Giant, of course, is always getting your certificate of authenticity, telling you what number you have and how many they've run. So I've got 787 of 1,200 here. Really cool to know there's only 1,200 of these statues. Okay, so here we are, box open. See what we got here. We've got a very solid stand. Again, what's cool is they give you this base that also tells you what number you had. So obviously this base matches the certificate of authenticity. So I can rest well knowing that this is an authentic figure. So here's the figure out of box. You can see really great sculpting, really great color. Those great yellow Sith eyes, the Sith tattoos on her Leku, on her body. Again, just the detail in the musculature of her back. Her saber, hilt, which is awesome. Something I really want to get into is collecting some of the more obscure sabers. So this is certainly one that I probably would look at. The detail and texture of her boots is amazing. Her armband, and of course her dressings, and this hand that's just sticking out in like the creepiest way. So just great. I mean, what a fantastic figure. I can't tell you how excited I was to actually find her and find her at a price that, as I said, you know what, he priced it to sell and I jumped all over it. One of the things I noticed from a lot of the eBay sellers is not only were they overpriced, but they also always had like broken pieces. Oftentimes the fingers on the hand were broken. So let's get her on the base. There we are. Okay. Nice and solid. There she is again. just looking fantastic. We'll turn her around. There you go. I mean, she just looks great, 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 great. Okay, let's get the saber on and the other piece of her Leiku. So there's the Leiku added, which again, just gives her an even more complete look. Yeah, really nice. Actually fit really, really well. One of the things I noticed for a lot of the sellers on eBay is, you know, they had a lot of broken pieces and they were still asking an absolute premium price, even though they were missing all those pieces. So it's interesting that, again, I was happy to jump on this one. Gentleman priced it to sell and completely in all of its pieces, no broken pieces, which is everything. So the standard kind of, again, I don't know what this material is that they make these sabers from, but you know, let's see if these hold up over time. I feel pretty confident that if they don't, we'll certainly find something from a 3D printer somewhere. So there it is. You have Darth Talon from Gentle Giant in all of her glory, looking absolutely menacing and beautiful at the same time. And as I said, you know what? A character that should have been in the sequels, missed an opportunity, but I feel that for the most part, we probably dodged a bullet. I don't think they would have done her justice. I hate to say it, but I think statue and comic book is where she'll reside and where she deserves to reside until, you know, who knows, maybe a more mature filmmaker and a more mature studio head will actually allow Disney to do more adult themed content. So there you have it. Let me know what you think of this statue. Let me know, you know, if you collect anything from the expanded universe or if the comic book series, or if you have any figures that are kind of like this from those offshoots of the IP. And as always, like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you at the next video. May the force be with you always.